been working with, those who've been throwing, I've been working with about 1.25 pounds, maybe a little bit more. Okay, so we've been talking about throwing cylinders. And the idea for mastering cylinders is it tells me you have enough control to move on to the next form. So if you can sit down and throw a cylinder tonight, then you're ready to go to making bowls. Because clay always wants to go where when you're lifting?
Out.
Out, right. And so this is where you really need the control, because we want to pull the clay out. But we're going to center it the same way. Those of you having a lot of problems, remember you just get out here, butterfly, leaning, making your body work for you. Maybe raise the clay up to the top of your hand, push it down with the second finger, up to here, down to here. Okay? Clean this up each time. Now you'll see guys on videos raise the clay way up high. Sometimes if you feel hard spots in the clay or inconsistency, sometimes it could be an air bubble. So by raising it way up and down a couple times, it'll pop to the surface and you're okay. Remember, air bubbles do not make clay blow up. It just makes it harder to center. So the opening process here is same as we've been doing, but when you get down here, you can leave it a little thicker, and that's about as wide as you're going to open it. Okay? Clean that up under there. And then you're going to go over here at 3 o'clock, and you're going to push in until you feel you're about this much away from what the finished foot is going to be. And that's something I can see because I work in front of a mirror, so I can see that happening. I know when to stop. And then from there, you're going to squeeze the clay up and gently outward. And again, the thickness you see here should equal the thickness down at the floor. If it doesn't, cut it off, go to another piece of clay. You're just going to frustrate yourself. Always clean up that little bit. Make sure you have enough moisture so it feels slick. Again, you're going to give a nice squeeze here, come up gently. And now I'm just going to pull my hand around to 6 o'clock.
Which is a lot harder than.
Pardon?
It's harder to do that than it looks. It feels
Yes.
awkward to me.
Okay, now this is just a little bit thicker than the clay below it. And that's what keeps it all in center. Okay, and so you keep doing this until the top is about the diameter of the bowl desired.
So you guys notice how it's like, she's not making it a shape like this, it's a shape like a flower pot. You want your sides to be straight, not curved yet. She's gonna do that part later. And that helps it so it doesn't collapse later.
Okay, and once you've got it about where you want it, then it's nice to take a rib here, put it right there, really tighten things up. And then you want to take your chamois, and this is a good time to get it grounded.
Is that, would you have, or were you gonna trim the top part, or are you gonna do that later, or do you not need to because you're?
Well, hopefully I won't have to, but if I have to, I will do it
Later.
Later, yeah. So this time I'm going to cut a wedge of clay out of here at this point. The reason I'm doing it here at this time is so that the clay will move for me. If I don't do that, that means I have to use a lot of pressure to get my shape, and I may end up with a mogul right in this area here.
What?
A bump,
Like a bump.
which we don't want.
Or a mogul.
Mogul, like when you're skiing.
Mogul, skiing, travel.
Now, when Susie makes her first bowl, she's going to get a chopstick and take a whisker off her cat and glue it on right there. And then put a lot of clay there,
I don't have that.
and every time she makes a bowl and it touches that whisker, they're going to be all the same height, at about the same diameter. So you don't have to use calipers to measure. So when I work in the studios in Japan, that's what we do. And that way you can make bowls all day long that are stacked nice and look good. Okay?
I can hook you up with a
Very
whisker.
simple trick.
Yeah, we have a lot of whiskers.
Sarah's gonna bring
I don't
one.
want a whisker.
You guys, this is a bonus trick. You're not gonna see this on any videos that I've seen yet about how to make a bowl, and I love this tool. I recommend everybody go down to Phoenix and buy this tool.
Yes, they call the bowl making tool, the peach pit, right, or whatever. Peach
So
pit?
this is called a momo. Momo in Japanese, momo. Momo in Japanese is peach. This is a peach tool. And it's cut in different shapes. And this interior is very critical in that it's going to be in different areas here. It could be a little more left, a little more right, a little more up and down, depending on how you're using it. So your fingers fit right in it, and it's for shaping very large bowls, very small bowls. You're going to take a finger and just put it against the edge here.
His wheel's going super
And at
slow.
3 o'clock, with the elbow up in the air, take a deep breath, lean against the wheel so you're solid, and at about 30 degrees to the clay, going down and coming around slowly to about 6 o'clock. I'm looking at that line. Can you all see that little line going down there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Going down.
And my elbow's moving out. And I'm slowing down, moving slower, till I fill that in.
Magic.
Okay. Now, I can push that out to make it, now, you know, we've talked about the interior dictates the outside shape finish. So if this is the shape I want my bowl, when you trim it, it has to mimic this. If it doesn't, that means there's thin or thick spots in the bowl. And so what I can do now is, because I've repacked the clay platelets by pushing the clay back down, it tore them apart, lifting the clay up. It makes it a very strong vessel. So I can go back here again and push it out further, if I wish, using the same technique. If you were to pull it out to that shape that you're seeing develop out there, it would have sagged down, it would have sunk, it would have collapsed.
Yeah, so did you guys get that? He's compressing it back down by pushing from the top to the bottom. So you pulled it
Now,
out
after
and now
doing
you're
that a
pushing
couple
it back and
times,
makes it stronger.
if I want to move the shape out, it will move out without collapsing. So we can take the shape now.
Sorry.
Oops, sorry. I can take the shape now, and at about 4 o'clock, I can come and start pulling it out. I know that I've compressed the clay a lot hard enough and compact enough to where I can just keep pulling this out. And see how much of a bowl you can get. If you tried to pull it out there, it would have collapsed.
Perfect
Wow.
cereal bowl.
So you have to compress it first, but if you
Right.
don't have one of those tools, what do you do?
You know, you guys can use, you know, you guys have a tool that's somewhat shaped like that. You know what I mean, Jeff? You know the hat.
The what?
The
It's
tool,
okay, George,
a
we'll just
different
buy the tool, it's okay, but either way, you have to compress it down, you can't just put it out.
Okay, so now, if it was a little wonky, I'd trim it down. And if you're worried about, you know, like I would be worried about firing things here because it could warp. So to kind of give myself a little edge here, if I turn this out about that far, then it'll probably fire and still be round when it comes out.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because I have a fairly small base down there, you know.
So if you turn it out, it's less likely to warp?
Well, it depends, you know, like your electric kiln, you have a lot of control, so
Yeah.
you can, okay, this is a gas kiln
Yeah,
here.
so-
And there's a lot of action going on. So I'd turn it out if I was firing things here. If I wasn't firing things here, at home, I do very long, slow firing, so that I get deep penetration all the way through the clay. as I'm going up the heat scale. Because if you just heat the surface, you know, you think about it, heat goes up, right? So the top of my kiln is getting hot, and the heat comes down, and it heats both sides pretty equally until it gets down to the bottom. That's sitting on the shelf. That means this heats a lot faster, so that can cause some warping. But if you're firing slow enough so that the shelf heats up at the same rate everything else is heating up, it's not gonna be a problem. I mean, I do bowls of 15, 18 inches in diameter up here, and they don't warp just because I fire very, very slowly and pay attention to what's happening. Cause you want it to blow up, you want it to look pretty, come out nice, okay? So I'm gonna take this off and put it on a board here. Oh, hold that for me, Susan.
I love you.
And also, by using that technique, that bowl is very, very strong. So I can cut it off and lift it off there, and even if I warp it a little, I can pick it up at 180 degrees from where I lifted it, and it'll go right back to nice.
Dry his hands, he's drying his hands. Twist.
Bravo.
Wow.
And so,
Just make it look easy.
okay, one more
That's
time.
a pretty bowl.
One more time, watch it again, that's gorgeous.